Previously on the ultimate stealth van build. We stripped it back to its metal shell, sanded and painted rust spots, sound deadened the walls, and laid the insulated floor. The first fixed wiring's in, the bulkhead's gone, and we wrapped the wheel arches in insulating foil. Now, it's time to level up. In this episode, we begin with the wall insulation, start framing out the interior, and install the reversing camera. Subscribe to follow along the journey. So what I might start doing is cutting out some of the insulation board to size it up and fit it for the big panels so that I can get those ready. I'm not going to do the Dodo fleece liner tonight because it's messy and I think I still want a bit more access to these columns. So let's do a bit of cutting, I think. Try not to make too much of a mess. Alright, so what I'm doing with these panels is just holding up the board roughly to where I want it, make a mark, again approximately where I want the board width to start, and then the board length to about here. And what I can do is just join up those, cut them out, make the square, and then I'll start getting the actual profile of it. So yeah, cut across there, gives me the square to work with. The rectangle is made, approximate fit. Now what I'll do is I'll shave off the corners and start pushing it in until I get it all the way in. I haven't got too much battery left on the camera, so doing this in pretty short clips. Well, that was easier than planned. Basically, just cut off the four corners, trim the top a little bit, and it fits perfectly. Something you don't realise until you actually do this is the van slopes inwards a little bit that way and this way. So the kind of panel looks a bit wonky, but it's actually flush against the van. So when you look at it a little bit more closely, you can see that. Obviously not until I've done this insulation. So yeah, first panel done, pretty easy. I'll probably use that extra strong spray adhesive to stick it to it, as well as maybe some of the silver foil tape. And I'll be going over these edges anyway with the bubble wrap insulation, so that'll be alright. What I'll do is I'll mimic this on that side, probably just use this as a template. Bit of a mess, but I've cut each side out. I'm going to use the spray stuff now, spray it on, see if it sticks. Probably use a bit of the tape just to hold it up at the top. See if it sticks by the morning. If it falls off, I know to do something different. Right, I don't think this is the most efficient and clean way, as I'm getting fucking spray stuff everywhere and sprayed it on the wrong side of the panel. However, it's actually stuck really well. Not going anywhere. Obviously it's only just drying, so it's pretty good. I think once I get like the cutting and the gluing bit a bit smoother, I mean it only took 15 minutes to do these two, it's pretty good. That one's just gone up. It's already stuck pretty well. Right, it's 8 AM, we're getting a quick bit of van work done before starting work at 9. So, again, doing bits, gonna finish cutting up this board to insulate the big section of roof above me. Absolutely covered myself in this spray adhesive, spraying it up on the ceiling. Pretty annoying, but I am using all my DIY clothes, so it's not too bad. Stuck reasonably well. A little bit of flex, but there's less points for it to stick on versus the side panels. Anyway, it's up, so hope you can see that. This middle panel is slightly different. I'm going to have the fan here, which will be above the stove top and kind of next to the shower, fold out shower that I'm going to build, which
will be pretty cool, but that's a lot further down the line.
I don't know about you, but if you're currently building a van or thinking about building one, there's so much prep work, like mentally, to do it. Because there's so many different things you've got to do in sequence, and even with writing them down and making a written plan, I still find myself kind of laying in bed thinking like what you're going to do the next day and how you're going to do it. You kind of become a bit obsessed with it. Like last night, I was laying in bed thinking about the grey water tank and how I'm going to plumb it in basically to kind of make it fit, and what the connections I needed to get and things like that. Yeah, it's just quite funny. I wonder if anyone else is experiencing that as well. Let me know in the comments below. Also, on that topic, make sure you like and subscribe. Plenty more content like this coming out, as well as other random videos that I'd quite like to do. Got the old honey and lemon drink. Feeling pretty run down, just getting over being ill over the last week. Absolutely wiped me out, but we're getting there. Still training, still doing everything there. Last panel, big panel to do on the sides. It's actually quite easy doing this. I definitely recommend it to anybody. Just rough cut and then cut up the corners, stick it on with the adhesive. It works perfectly, it doesn't take too long, it's not too messy. Extremely strongly. Pretty strong screws. These self-tappers with the sunken pilot hole just to kind of fit through. Don't actually need too many of these, just enough to stop it from rattling. So particularly with this side panel here, I'm going to have a straight sheet of plywood probably up here, stopping around this mark before kind of curving up the top of the second piece. Reason for this being the water tank is going to sit over here, over arch water tank, 100 litres, and obviously that has a flat side, so that needs to be against something pretty flat, screwed on nicely. So what I'll do is I'll repeat this, another one of these ridiculously strong supports here as well. That way when I get the probably 9mm plywood, this is 12, it's a bit too firm, that will sit against that one and cut off around here. We'll then have a separate series of battens going across up the top for the top plywood. looking beautiful here. Very pleased with how that's turned out. Nice and solid. It's really only flexing where the metal's flexing. Perfect to mount the plywood on. Right, onto the next panel. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to be panelling this section. I'm just going to kind of have to build up the structure and then work off that. Again, I don't know if I'm going to cut the panel here and have a second one, or if it's going to be able to curve around. This is quite a difficult kind of shape to work with, as there's, you know, it sticks out, goes back in. This section's higher than this section. I think what's going to happen is this column is going to have to be carpeted, even though it's going to be behind cupboards, in cupboards. Essentially, I think the tall vertical cupboards are going to stop around here. That side's all going to be cupboarded, so this will sit inside the cupboard itself. Stuck on nicely, pretty solid. 4 screws, self tappers into the metal. Good to go. I'll do another beam down here, a bit lower down, and then we'll have one slightly higher up as well. Happy days. Right, I'm pleased with that for today, so I'm going to leave it for now. I'm away for a couple of days on army training exercise, so I'll be back on Monday, ready to do a bit more of this Monday evening. So what we've done is start the battening and the framing essentially for the plywood walls that are going to be going up the sides of the van. There's not much I'd do differently having just started it. I was going to use some of the silicone adhesive stuff behind the wooden battens, but they're so secured in, I really don't think it's needed. It's just a bit of overkill. Plus they're going to be obviously have the panelling against them. Right, we will transition to a couple of days time. See you in a minute. Made a little bit of progress last night, didn't manage to get it all on camera. Done the framing for this section of the right hand side wall. Obviously that bit's almost done. Just got to do a bit more down there. Won't be touching this yet until I've got the foil insulation on the centre column and a couple of other places. That'll affect how I'm going to attach in some of the battens and plywood and things up there. Next step for today is repeat that on that side to get this framed up. Good to go, and then we'll take it from there. Last bar on this side, same drill into the metal with the self-tapping screws, and then kind of a rough pocket hole just to hold it into the beam below, and then yeah, complete. Right, we are making some steady progress. As you saw, completed the lower portion of the framing for the main sections of the van that are going to have things, cabinets and whatnot attached to them. I'll come to the door later, it's not required right now. The upper sections are going to require plywood. Now, before I continue, there's a few things that need to get done. One is securing the floor down, but before I secure that down, I need to drill the hole for the waste grey water tank. We also need to do a bit more of this foil insulation down the centre columns that are going to have the auto car carpet on them. They are mostly going to be hidden, but that's fine. As this obviously adds a bit of kind of depth to the metal, so before starting to frame out, this is going to have to go on up there, and maybe a couple other places. I also need to do the framing for this lower portion down here. That can't happen until the floor is secured down, because that's the last bit of kind of thing to do there.
However, before I do all of that, I've got a little bit more like first fix wiring to do. One of which is the solar cables which have arrived, and the outer waterproof case that sits on top of the roof. So there's a pre-drilled hole in the roof already with a plug in it. It's going to go up through there. Today, quite excited, I've just had the rear view reversing camera delivered. So I'm going to do the kind of first fix wiring for that, get that in place, and actually probably install it into the tailgate. It is way smaller than I anticipated, and it actually looks quite good. You can see here, tiny little kind of rear number plate style reverse mounting, reversing camera. Up a little bit closer. See there, very small, kind of just over a finger's width. Comes with enough cable to get it into the van-ish, sort of. Might need to get an RCA extension cable, but it'll take it into the van anyway, towards the wiring where it can have to be powered. So the rear kind of casing for the number plate is held on by these 4 bolts here, and then there's little plastic tabs that kind of help guide it into place. So unscrewing those, and that section with the LED lighting and the number plate attached to it, that should kind of just fall out basically. You can see previous reversing camera was attached to here. It's obviously not going anywhere, and so that we can feed the wiring through this existing hole, and that should help us. So we've unscrewed those. Now if we pull the number plate down, you can see it's starting to come loose. So I think if I just gently prise it off, it's got little plastic tabs just behind it. They're a little bit stuck in place. So there we go. Very nice, perfect. Put that down. So you can see there, that's the wiring to the LEDs and the lock for the rear tailgate. Oops. Previous place I think was here for the reversing camera. We'll probably just pop it in the same spot. Drill the hole through there and feed the wires through this grommet. So I've just marked roughly where I want the camera, drill the little hole. I'll probably have to size up the drill bit, but just as a first go. Okay, so 7 is a little bit too small. We'll go for an 8, that should do it. Just see if the camera goes through. So just put it all the way through. Put the camera on. Perfect, look at that, that is subtle, pretty cool, I like it. Next step, we'll get this little bolt fitted. You can see it's got a gap there. Obviously that slots over the wire to allow it just to get in. Yeah, we'll just pop that on now. Just do a loose tighten, get it roughly in position. Might put a bit of sealant or something actually just to make sure it stays in place. So next up, just feed the wire back through the kind of brackets underneath, because we want to send it through this grommet up here. What I'll do is I'll just run around the other side and pull that through. Got some small zip ties, so we'll send one around one of the LED wires to help keep the wire from kind of moving about and being pulled. The back of the camera there, sealant applied to the little nuts. We've zip tied the cable in. That's the view of the camera from the front. You can see that, very cool. And then what we'll do is slide this back in place and reattach it. Right, that's looking real nice. Camera on. Very, very subtle, very small. Love it. And then on the inside, we've got the wire coming out of that grommet here, this connection point. So what I'm going to have to do, spin back around, is feed it up all the way through the van and probably through this wire kind of grommet section point thing here, which should come out into here. I'll see though, I'm not quite sure yet. I think that's going to be the only way. Okay, scratch the idea. I'm trying to get through this. I have no idea how to access it through here. I can take that out, but you can't simply get to that hole there. So what I'm going to do is run the cabling and make my own version of this. So this rear view camera cable up through there, probably pop it out somewhere through this little gap here, and then it will come inside the wall out to here. I'm going to have to make my own you know, waterproof joint tube thing, conduit, and then that can either, I'll have to drill a hole and send it through into this, which this is where the cable's actually going to run through, or potentially drop it down here and through the existing rear lights hole, which comes out in this column here. Cable runs behind there, zip tied on to the little supports. I've taped up the join where the cables join together, because definitely don't want those coming undone behind the panel that's going to be here in the insulation. And then again, zip tied up. I'm going to tighten it up in a little bit, and it comes out this hole. From this hole, I think I'm going to have it then behind the panelling, and then I'm going to have to obviously bridge it over there where it will meet the other cables. Okay, cancel that last. What I've done is taken it off and put back on it with conduit, because obviously we don't want it rubbing. I've also installed a grommet, like a rubber grommet here. Probably more of a temporary solution, because I think I'll still have conduit running through there anyway with protecting these wires. But at least while I'm working on the van, I don't want it to rub and cut this wire at all.